Hello students, today we're doing lesson 8.5, solving equations, more simplifying. So this whole chapter is about solving equations and different things you'll encounter. So last lesson we did some adding like terms, and this one is going to be distributive property with some more adding like terms. Okay, so you know everything that I'm going to show you. I'm just going to show you how to put it into an equation. So we have done everything on here. We're just going to put it all kind of together. And we only have a couple of examples, and then we'll probably do an on your own. Okay, so example 1, we have, and this one's kind of, I was going to say a long one, but no, this is about typical of what you'll see. Okay, 7y plus 2 times, in parentheses, y plus 4 equals 71. So the first thing we're going to do is distributive property. We do not want those parentheses in this problem. So I'm going to distribute the 2 to everything inside those parentheses. So the 7y stays there. And then I'm going to do 2 times y is 2y plus 2 times 4 is 8. So this plus came from that plus. If that was a minus, this one would be a minus. Okay, and then that equals 71. So that's the distributive property. You already know how to do that. Just know now that you need to get rid of those parentheses right away. Now I'm going to add like terms. So the y's are my like terms. They're the same. So I'm going to add those together. 7y plus 2y is 9y. And then I have plus 8 equals 71. Okay, now we're back to lesson 8.1, solving a two-step equation. Now you've done this throughout this whole chapter. So this part should be easy. We subtract 8 from both sides. And that gives me 9y equals 63. Then I'm going to divide by 9. And that's y equals 7. Now, that's my answer. Now, sometimes it might ask you to check, and sometimes it might not. So we're going to do checks on both of these today so that you can see the process of checking these long ones. So when I check this, I'm doing this part, rewriting the problem for notes. But on regular problems, you do not have to rewrite the problem. You just have to do the next step. Okay, so I'm just doing that for notes. So wherever there's a y, instead of y, we're going to put 7 because that's what our y is, right? Okay, so I'm going to have 7 times 7 plus 2 parentheses 7 plus 4. And then I have equals 71. So that equals 71, you are not looking at that part, okay? In fact, I could just erase the equals 71 and just work the left-hand side of the equation. This part of the equation. So to work that part, I would use PEMDAS, which is parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, and then add and subtract. So we're going to do the parentheses first. So I have 7 plus 4, that's 11. So now so I just keep writing that equals 71 on the other side, but that doesn't matter. We're only looking at the left-hand side. Now I have 2 different multiplications and an adding. So with PEMDAS, or order of operations, it says we multiply first. Since they're on either side of that add, we're just going to multiply both of them. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 2 times 11 is 22. Then you need to actually add this and make sure that it's going to equal 71. So when I add those two, you can use your calculator. If you're good with adding in your head, then add it in your head. But 49 plus 22 is 71. So I write 71 underneath it. And this equals 71 just stays the same the whole way down. This is the side that you're working out to see if these two end up equaling each other. And then sometimes kids put a little check mark there to say, yep, my 71 does equal my 71, and I'm done. Okay, example 2. Sorry about that cough. I've been doing a couple of videos tonight, so my throat is getting tired from talking. Okay, example 2. And this is the last one we're going to do for this one. So if you haven't gotten, no, I'm sorry, we're going to do one on your own. Okay, so let's solve this one. This is going to be 2 times 3z minus 4 plus 2z plus 9 equals 65. Okay, this one is just a little bit harder because it has more adding like terms. But the first thing we're going to do is get rid of that parentheses. So we do that by doing distributive property. So 2 times 3z is 6z. Then we have 2 times 4 is 8. And there's a minus sign there, so that minus sign is going to go here. So minus 8. Then I'm just going to write down the rest of the problem. Now I'm ready to add my like terms. So my like terms are z and this z and this z, so 6z and 2z. And then my other like terms are ones that don't even have variables. These are called constants. So my minus 8 and my plus 9. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Let's do our z's first. So 6z right here and 2z will make 8z. Okay, now when I talk about this minus 8 and plus 9, when you have a minus in algebra equations, I tell kids to just look at that as a negative, because when we did minus ones, we did change your minus to a plus and the second number to its opposite, and that is still true. So that 8 is really like that minus 8 is really like a plus a negative 8. So what I would tell you, if you have your calculators and you're using calculators now, is just put negative 8 plus 9 into your calculator if you don't know it. And that's a plus 1, positive 1. Now, some kids try to do that in their head and they mess up, and then they get the whole problem wrong because they did not learn their integers well enough, or they don't have all the rules remembered. You really need to know those for the rest of your math career. Is you need to know those without having to pick up a calculator, because kids think they know it and they don't pick up their calculator and they get it wrong. So either use your calculator for every single thing or learn your integer rules. Okay, so now this is now a two-step problem. So it wasn't really that harder, except that we had those constant numbers. That means numbers without the variables that we needed to add together. So I'm going to solve this by subtracting 1 on both sides. And I get 8z equals 64. Then I'm going to divide by 8, and that gives me z equals 8. So that's my answer. Now, when I go in to check this, I'm going to show you kind of a different way to think of checking, because it's hard when you're not here, if you're like learning this at home because you were absent, for me to kind of walk around, make sure that you're doing your checks right. And I have a lot of kids write down their checks wrong. So I'm going to show you kind of a different way to think of doing checks. So I'm going to just write down the problem real quick. Okay, when we rewrite it this time, I'm going to leave off this equals 65 when I'm solving this problem this time. So I'm going to do what I did in all the other ones. I'm going to put, instead of z here, I'm going to put 8 on all these z's. So I have 2 times 3 times 8 minus 4 plus 2 times 8 plus 9. Now I'm leaving off this equals 65 because I really want you to see what I'm doing with checks. What I'm doing is I'm going to solve this big whole long problem before I don't think of it as, oh, I know the answer is going to be 65. Instead, just solve the problem. So first we have to do inside the parentheses. So we would do the times first. 3 times 8 is 24. Minus 4 is 20. So I have 2 times 20 plus 2 times 8 plus 9. So now I'm going to do my times. This times and this times, because they're separated by that plus sign. So 2 times 20 is 40, plus 2 times 8 is 16, plus 9. You may not, y'all have calculators now, but you may not put that whole problem into your calculator. You have to do each step. You can do the steps on your calculator, like you can do 2 times 20 on your calculator, but you cannot do this whole thing on your calculator. Okay, for my class rules, I don't know what your other teachers will say when you get to other math classes, but for mine, you have to show all these steps on your check. Okay, so now I can add all these up, and I can do that all together. So 40 plus 16 is 56, plus another 9 is 65. And now you see that that came out to be 65. This is not over 65. I should have, let me erase that. Okay, so all of those is 65. So now you see that I worked all of that. And now that I know it's 65, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, oh, look up here. All of this was equal to 65 the whole way down. Now, I don't like you writing this like this at the end. I was just trying to show you what you're trying to accomplish in this check. Okay, and that's it. So this is the type of problems you're going to see for your problems, is you're going to have a lot of those parentheses. You're going to have a lot of adding like terms. And so, and that's it, just more simplifying of problems.